Okay, this is our last hand sewing exercise for now. And what we first need to do is we're just going to be using one piece of fabric, and we're going to take our ruler and draw a line that is 2 inches from the edge line. It doesn't matter which edge, as long as it's going with the lengthwise direction of that and along that 6-inch, the 6-inch length. And luckily, since our rulers are 2 inches wide, this is a pretty easy one, and I'm just going to take my tailor's chalk and draw a line right along that ruler. Okay. What you're going to now want to do is, again, make sure that your thread is threaded in your hand needle, which mine ran out on my blanket stitch, and so I have to cut another one. And then go ahead and make sure that that's knotted on the end. And we're just going to be using 1 thickness of a thread here. And just similar to the blanket stitch is that this can be used, the chain stitch can be used, it's primarily used for decoration, and so you would probably use embroidery thread if you were going to actually be doing the chain stitch on an actual piece, whether it be clothing or linens or lingerie or whatever. So you probably use a thicker type of thread. That's what I'm trying to get at. So anyway, what we first did, again, is that we drew that line with our tailor's chalk or a marking pencil, 2 inches from this far edge here, and then just along that 6 inches. And we're using that 1 thread thickness again, and I got a knot on the end, and then I'm going to work from right to left, but just to kind of start off here so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to push my needle up through the bottom so that I have my knot started here. And this is just fastening our thread to the back side, and I'm bringing up my thread to the right side here. And so for each stitch, what we're going to do is we're going to have a loop thread that will be up and around, and then we're going to insert it back through. So first what we want to do is we want to kind of create that loop. So we're kind of creating that lasso-y loop like we did before, and then we're inserting it. We're inserting our needle, and I'm going to keep my sample flat so I can kind of use the table as a guide. And I'm bringing my thread back up, or my needle back up about a 1/4 of an inch away from where I inserted it. And I'm just pulling it out. And as you can see, what that does is it kind of creates this kind of catch loop. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do that again. And I'm going to insert my needle right beside where it came out. So I'm putting it right back inside of that loop, moving my needle about a 1/4 inch away, and I'm catching that loop again. And I'm going to hold the end and kind of pull it opposite of me. And then again, I'm creating that loop with my left hand. I'm going to insert my needle right beside where it came out, push it forward about a 1/4 of an inch. Oops, thread kind of wrapped around the edge of my sample. I'm going to hold the end of my fabric and then pull opposite so that it catches that kind of lasso in a straight line. I need to give it a good tug there. Keep it straight. And then I'm creating that loop again. I'm going to insert my needle right back into that circle where I had just caught it, move it a 1/4 of an inch, bring it up through the middle of that loop or that lasso. I'm going to hold that fabric and pull straight opposite. I'm pulling straight down that line. Alright, and then I'm coming back at it, making that loop, putting my needle down in the center of that loop again. Oh, and it looks like it popped up, but it should be okay when I go to pull it. And I'm pulling it here. I'm going to hold my fabric so I can pull it tight. It looks like part of my looks like I have some. There we go. Part of my last thread was kind of loosey-goosey in there, so I just had to go back in and tug that single thread by itself. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull my needle out so that my thread, my hanging thread tail here, the one that's kind of flopping around, that it's not, maybe that's what's kind of getting in the way. So I have my lasso formed. I'm going to put my needle down back into that hole or that circle that I had just created. Move my needle 1/4 of an inch, pull it through that lasso again. I think the key is going to be holding on to this fabric and pulling your needle with the thread straight. And then creating that lasso around, and then inserting it right back into, right next to where that hole was. And then moving it 1/4 of an inch and bringing it right back up through that circle. Holding on to the fabric and pulling. Alright, so again, like I'm not going to keep repeating this just because it's the same thing over and over. Maybe one more time for kicks and giggles. So I made that lasso, and I'm opening up that circle that I had just done, inserting my needle, moving it 1/4 of an inch, picking up the tip of the needle so that it's coming right through that lasso, holding my fabric on the far end, and then pulling my needle and thread straight. And what that does is that's going to keep a straight line going here. Alright, so again, this is the chain stitch. I'm going to finish this on my own, and I'm just going to keep on going down the line, and when I'm done I'll knot it off. Alright.